So I'm basically just going to ask you two questions, and then you can just answer them. So the first is, what do you think the relevance is of holding such a memorial lecture?
From my point of view, the statement made by Archbishop Tutu in 2001, that nations are built out of memories, sharing experiences, a history, must be located against the fact that in 1994, South Africans for the first time had a chance, without regards to their color, their caste, or their ideological leaning, to become part of a nation. 1910 was a schizophrenic nation, a nation of whites. And you have Oliver Tambo on the film saying how, for us post-1910 and under apartheid, he said, I felt I was a foreigner in my country because I was treated like an animal. So that opportunity has arisen for all, those who were rulers and those who were ruled in the past, to come together to build a nation. And what these gentlemen did should be part of the memory of all South Africans, because we are all the beneficiaries of freedom. So events like this and the process of recalling these events in a balanced way, not in an idealized way. We can't avoid some mythology, but we must try and stick to the facts, because we just don't want to record it, we want to learn from it. And we want to appropriate that experience into the memory of the nation that's in the making. So that's why for me, it is very important to organize such events and to learn how to speak to the people of today. It is not good enough for me to say, young people don't understand. I rather ask myself the question, am I explaining it in a way that they don't listen to what I'm saying? They don't hear me. I think that's a fundamental lesson that should be coming through. And that's why I singled out the work done in organizing the Congress of the People and the Freedom Charter. Because we as activists were asked now, go to the people and ask them, what do they want? Listen to them. And that's what made us what we are today. And that's what recalling them does.
Wow, thank you. And what do you feel your personal contribution is to this memorial lecture?
I hope that I've contributed to us asking questions of ourselves. And that when we ask those questions of ourselves, the easiest thing is to point a finger at somebody else. But the way in which people learn best is to learn from their own mistakes. But it's not a question of a put down. So let's interrogate what we've been doing from the point of view of what mistakes have we made and what can we learn from them. But for that conversation to take place, it doesn't start with just pointing a finger. The important thing is to start by looking at yourself and saying how you maybe have contributed to the problems. And that's why I gave the example today of the question of the judiciary. Because there today in the newspapers, it is said that over the murder of Timon, the magistrate conducting that inquest said, ruled out murder categorically. Even though he saw that the post-mortem said that the body of the person had severe injuries. He said, no, all of them were just suicide. And we need to understand how we have allowed the perception to grow and why there isn't enough faith in the judiciary, rightly or wrongly, but it's a perception. Just as there are perceptions about the ANC, perceptions about individuals. So that is, what do I contribute to this process? There is a joke that is said by Mandela and Kathrada and all my colleagues in prison. And Kathrada tells it that at Quarry we were living in single cells, individual cells. And at work I was explaining to Kathrada how the night before I had had a furious argument. And I gave him the two sides of the argument and recounted it. And at the end of it, he said, "But Mac, who were you arguing with?" I said, "I was arguing with myself." I think it is important that we have that process. And so we need to look at ourselves, we need to look at ourselves as a collective, and we need to look at ourselves as a nation in the making. And all of it outside of the framework of a blame game, more in the context of what do we do tomorrow. And I hope I've contributed in some way in stimulating that kind of questioning. And that's why I told the anecdote about Walter Sisulu and Mandela, and Sisulu retorting, "I'm not anybody's puppet. I think for myself."